Diggins' dramatic Olympic finish. Jessie Diggins collapses in agony but triumphs with bronze in grueling 10-kilometer race at Milan Cortina Winter Olympics. American ski star Jessie Diggins delivered one of the most emotional and unforgettable moments of the Milan Cortina Winter Olympics after collapsing in sheer agony at the finish line. Moments after securing a bronze medal in the women's 10-kilometer cross country skiing event. Now it's time to dig deeper and understand the full story through this AI podcast.
Okay, I want you to try a little experiment with me. Close your eyes for just a second.
Oh boy.
No, seriously, humor me. Now, imagine the sound of the finish line at the Winter Olympics. What are you hearing in your head?
I'm assuming most people are hearing the cowbells.
Right, cowbells, the roar of the crowd, maybe that iconic swoosh of skis cutting through the snow.
Mm-hmm.
You picture an athlete throwing their arms up, maybe collapsing in a heap of joy. It's the thrill of victory, right? That's the soundtrack we're kind of conditioned to expect.
It's the broadcast package. It's what we've been sold for decades, yeah.
Exactly. But if you were tuning into the Milan Cortina 2026 Winter Games, specifically the end of the women's 10-kilometer cross-country race, the soundtrack was, well, it was different.
Very different.
It wasn't a cheer. It wasn't a laugh. The source material we have in front of us describes it as a guttural scream.
And just to be crystal clear right off the bat, because this sets the stakes for everything we're about to discuss. This wasn't a scream of release or, triumph. This was the sound of absolute unadulterated metabolic failure. It was the sound of a human body that had been pushed past its breaking point.
And that sound is our entry point today. We are taking a deep dive into American skier Jessie Diggins' performance in that 10-kilometer race.
Yeah.
We've got the race data, the biomechanics reports, and the social media fallout. And look, spoiler alert, if you follow the sport, you know how this ends. She won the bronze medal.
But if you just look at the medal count, you miss the actual story. The headline isn't Diggins wins bronze.
No, not at all. The headline is essentially, how on earth did she survive this?
That's the mission for this deep dive. We aren't just going to read you the results sheet. Anyone can check Wikipedia for that.
Right.
We want to understand the physiological and the psychological toll of this specific 23-minute window. We need to deconstruct what grit actually looks like biologically when you strip away the glamour of the podium.
Because the article we're analyzing, Grit on the Snow, it paints a picture that is honestly bordering on terrified awe.
It really is.
I mean, I consider myself a pretty dedicated Olympics watcher. I live for these moments. But reading the description of her crossing that finish line, it stopped me in my tracks. So let's set the scene properly for you.
Okay.
We're in Milan Cortina. The clock is ticking. Jessie Diggins is 34 years old now, a veteran. She comes tearing into the finish area. What happens in that specific moment?
She crosses the line. The clock stops at 23 minutes and 38 seconds. And the second, literally the millisecond she crosses that timing mat, the strings are cut.
It's gone.
She goes down. And she doesn't just fall over in that, oh, phew, I'm tired way. She sinks into the snow. The sources describe her clutching her chest and gasping.
And that's when that scream happens.
That's the scream.
The fans on social media were really reacting to that audio feed. One of the sources we have quotes a fan saying it was pretty jarring to hear how much she was screaming.
Jarring is such a specific word, isn't it?
It is. It implies something is wrong. Something is out of place. Usually we see the athlete collapse, they breathe heavy for 10 seconds, they wave to the camera.
Cool.
This was, well, the report says she was writhing.
Writhing is the explicit word used.
Yeah.
I think that visual is crucial. To understand why this matters, you have to look at the interaction with her teammate, Haley Swerble.
Okay.
Swerble had already finished. She came in 39th. And usually when a teammate comes over the finish corral, it's for a hug, right?
Yeah.
A congratulatory pat on the back.
Right, the classic "we did it" moment. Flags draped over shoulders, smiling for the photographers.
This was not that. Swerble rushed over effectively as a first responder. She wasn't high-fiving Diggins. She was practically performing triage.
Wow.
She was soothing Diggins' cramping legs. Diggins is on the ground, face etched with exhaustion, totally unable to get up.
Yeah.
And her teammate is there trying to physically manage the pain for her.
It looked less like a sporting event and more like a medical emergency.
It did.
And that leads us to the why. Because when I first saw the headline, I played devil's advocate. I thought, okay, cross-country skiing is arguably the hardest sport in the world physiologically. Collapsing is kind of part of the gig.
Sure, it happened.
We see it all the time. If you don't collapse, did you even try? But this was different.
It was different because the baseline was different. Most of those athletes are starting from a baseline of full health. Diggins was not.
Right. The sources reveal there was a massive underlying factor here, the rib injury.
The rib injury, and this is where we need to get a little technical for a minute, because rib injury sounds like a nuisance, like something you complain about while moving furniture.
Right.
But in this sport, it's catastrophic.
Yeah, let's unpack that, because I think most people hear bruised ribs and think, okay, it hurts to laugh or cough, but we aren't talking about sitting on the couch watching a comedy special here.
Not even close. Think about the mechanics of cross-country skiing, specifically the classic technique used in parts of these races, or the skating motion.
It's all core.
It is a full-body engagement. You aren't just using your legs like a runner. You are using your core, your abdominals, your obliques, your intercostals to generate massive force.
You're essentially doing a weighted crunch with every single pole plant, right?
It's set thousands of times over 10 kilometers.
Mm-hmm.
If you've ever had a rib injury, you know that deep breathing is painful. Sneezing is agony.
Ugh, yeah.
Now, imagine skiing at an Olympic level. We are talking about VO2 max efforts. Your lungs are expanding to their absolute limit, literally stretching the rib cage from the inside out, roughly 40 to 50 times a minute.
So you have the expansion from the inside caused by the lungs needing oxygen, and the compression from the outside caused by the muscle contraction to move the skis.
Precisely. She is caught in a vice. It's a pressure cooker.
And the impact.
On top of that, there's the impact. Every time those poles hit the hard-packed snow, that shock wave travels up the arm and anchors into the core. It's repetitive trauma.
There's a fan comment in the source material that sums up perfectly. They wrote, "Every movement, breath, and turn is painful with broken ribs. And yet, she's out there racing 10 kilometers against the best in the world."
It creates a layer of physiological stress that goes beyond just, my muscles are tired. It sends the brain into panic mode.
Oh, yeah.
The brain is screaming, we are structurally damaged, stop moving, cease activity immediately. And she ignored it.
Yeah.
Or rather, she managed it. That's the difference between exertion and injury. She was racing through active trauma.
It really puts that guttural scream at the finish line into a completely different light. It wasn't just, I'm tired.
Not at all.
It was probably the moment the adrenaline finally wore off and the reality of what she just did to her body came rushing back in.
The adrenaline dump is real.
Yeah.
For 23 minutes and 38 seconds, her brain was overriding the pain signals to get the job done. It's a survival mechanism, fight or flight.
Mm-hmm.
But once the job is done, the brain says, okay, we can stop ignoring this now. And the pain hits like a freight train. That scream is the sound of the nervous system coming back online and realizing the damage.
But here's the other thing that stresses me out just reading about it. The torture wasn't over when she crossed the line.
No.
Because of the way this race works, she didn't know if she'd won a medal. She's lying there in agony, writhing in the snow, but she's in limbo.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
The interval start. This is a unique psychological beast in cross-country skiing. It's one of the few races where you can be the fastest person on Earth, but you're all alone.
Can you break that down for someone who maybe only watches the 100-meter dash? Because in a sprint, you cross the line, you look left, you look right, and you know instantly if you won.
Right. In a mass start event, it's head-to-head. First one across the line wins. But in an interval start, the skiers leave the gate one by one, usually separated by 30 seconds.
But so you're just racing the clock.
You are racing the clock, not the person next to you. So Jessie Diggins crosses the line. She collapses. She's screaming.
Yeah.
But she has no idea if it was enough. There were 111 competitors in this field.
111. That is a massive field. So you have to wait for dozens of other skiers who started behind you to finish their runs to see where your time stacks up.
Imagine the anxiety. You are physically broken on the snow. Haley Swerble is rubbing the cramps out of your legs, and you have to stare at a giant scoreboard as times roll in one by one.
Oh, that's brutal.
You're watching to see if your 23.38 holds up. Every time a new name pops up, you're doing the mental math.
Did she beat me? Was her split faster?
And it was close. I mean, we know she got the bronze now, but looking at the data, the margins were razor thin. This wasn't some, comfortable weight where you're sitting pretty.
Well, let's be fair. The gold medal wasn't close.
Okay, right.
We have to give credit where it's due. Frida Karlsson from Sweden.
The Swedish machine.
She was on another planet that day. Oh, yeah, Karlsson. She finished it. Wait, I'm misreading my notes. Her time wasn't 23.35. That was Anderson's ballpark. Karlsson won by how much?
Karlsson won by 46.6 seconds over the rest of the field.
What?
In a 10-kilometer race, that is an eternity. That's a lifetime.
Yeah.
She didn't just win, she dismantled the field. She was skiing a different race entirely.
46 seconds in a race that takes 23 minutes. That is dominant.
Absolute dominance. But the battle for silver and bronze, that's where the drama was.
That's the real story.
That's where the game of seconds really played out. That's where the rib injury becomes the defining factor.
Right. Okay. So Carlson is way out in front, probably drinking a hot chocolate by the time everyone else finishes.
Pretty much.
But then we have Ebba Andersson, also from Sweden. She took silver. And this is the number that just haunts me. 3.1 seconds.
3.1 seconds.
Ebba Andersson beat Jessie Diggins by 3.1 seconds after 10 kilometers of skiing. That's a stumble.
Yeah.
That's a slightly wide turn. That is nothing.
It's roughly the time it takes to take 2 breaths. It's maybe 4 pull plants.
Right?
If Diggins had been healthy without the rib injury, who knows?
Right.
But that 3.1 second gap is what separated silver from bronze. And honestly, given the injury, the fact that she was within 3 seconds of Anderson is arguably more impressive than if she had won gold while healthy.
That's a great point. It's about the handicap. You're racing a Formula One car with a flat tire, and you still almost take second place.
Exactly. And while she was waiting, watching these times, surely she was also watching the people behind her.
Of course.
Because it wasn't just about catching the Swedes, it was about holding off the rest of the world. Because remember, she didn't know she had bronze yet. She just knew she was currently in third.
And look at who she was holding off. This was a stacked field. The Norwegian team, usually the juggernauts of cross-country skiing, they missed the podium entirely.
Yeah, they finished 4th, 5th, and 6th.
That is a headline in itself. Norway shut out of the podium in a distance race. That almost never happens.
That is wild. That's like Team USA basketball not getting a medal. It's a national crisis for them.
It is.
It speaks to the difficulty of the course and the conditions. The snow in Milan Cortina can be tricky. It can get slushy or icy depending on the sun exposure.
Right.
You had Alison Mackey from Canada. She had a great race, finished 8th, top Canadian. You had Great Britain's Anna Price in 24th, about 2 minutes back.
Yeah.
So this wasn't a race where everyone did well. Top athletes were struggling.
And amidst all that carnage, a 34-year-old American with, busted ribs clawed her way onto the podium.
Yeah.
You mentioned her age there, 34. In the world of endurance sports, specifically of this kind of high-intensity skiing, that's not exactly past your prime, but you're certainly the veteran in the room. You're not the fresh-faced rookie anymore.
No. And Diggins has been the face of American skiing for a long time now. If we look at her career arc, this medal adds a very specific chapter. Remember Pyeongchang, 2018?
Uh-huh.
Here comes Diggins' moment. Who could forget? That gold in the team sprint was historic. It changed the sport in the U.S. Exactly. That was the breakthrough. It was explosive. It was exciting. It was pure adrenaline. That was young Diggins.
The underdog story.
Yeah. Then Beijing 2022, she proved she had range with the silver in the 30-kilometer freestyle and the bronze in the individual sprint. She showed consistency. She proved it wasn't a fluke.
But this, Milan Cortina 2026, this bronze.
This is the legacy of grit medal.
I like that, the legacy of grit. Because she didn't win this with pure speed, and she certainly didn't win it with ease. She won it by refusing to stop.
There is a quote from the source that says, this performance encapsulated grit, pain, and perseverance. And I think that's why the fans reacted so emotionally. You mentioned the fan who said they got emotional at 8 a.m.
Yeah, the Olympics are just special. That was the quote. And it's true, isn't it? We get emotional because we project ourselves onto that struggle.
It's special because we aren't just watching athleticism. We're watching human will. When you see someone visibly suffering, writhing on the ground, needing medical attention from a teammate, all for a piece of bronze medal, it forces you to ask, what motivates these people? Why do they do it?
It reminds me of the moment they finally confirmed she won. The source says she fell into Swirbel's arms. That shift from writhing in pain to collapsing in relief, it's such a human moment.
And notice the order there. She didn't jump up and run a victory lap.
No.
She managed to get back to her feet and then fell into her teammate's arms. She was still spent. The medal didn't cure the ribs. The medal didn't fix the oxygen debt.
It just made it worth it.
It just made the suffering worth it in the context of sport.
I want to circle back to the Norwegians for a second, just to contextualize how hard this is. You said they finished 4th, 5th, and 6th. Do we know how close they were to Diggins?
The source doesn't give the exact split for the 4th place finisher, but in a race where 2nd and 3rd are separated by only 3 seconds, you can bet those Norwegians were hunting her down.
Oh, for sure.
Diggins knew that. Every second she spent out on that course, she had the phantom pressure of the Norwegian team breathing down her neck.
Which makes the rib injury even more significant. Because you can't ski defensively when you have broken ribs. You can't just cruise a section to save energy. You have to push through the pain constantly or you get swallowed up by the pack.
It's the definition of redlining. You are driving a car with a flat tire and the engine light on, and you have to drive it at maximum RPMs because a fleet of Ferraris is chasing you.
That's a great analogy.
If you slow down to protect the car, you lose. If you speed up, the car might explode. She chose to risk the explosion.
That is a terrifying thought, but it feels so accurate. And let's not forget the winner, Frida Karlsson, 46.6 seconds ahead. That is dominance. But in a weird way, does her dominance highlight Diggins' struggle even more? Like, there was one person who had a perfect day, and then there was everyone else fighting for scraps in the mud.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Karlsson had the race of her life. She was untouchable. But the race for the rest of the world, the race for mortals or the race for the injured, was won by Diggins.
The best, the battlers.
Exactly. And I think that resonates with people more than perfection sometimes. We admire perfection, like Karlsson's time. We respect it.
Sure.
But we identify with the struggle. We identify with the person screaming at the finish line because they tried so hard, it hurt.
That's so true. We see ourselves in the struggle, not necessarily in the easy win. And for Diggins, having that history, the gold in 2018 where she shocked the world to now, 8 years later, 34 years old, battling injury, it's a complete narrative arc.
It is.
She's done the surprising win, she's done the consistent winning, and now she's done the survival win.
It cements her status. She's not just a fast skier, she's a tough skier. And in cross-country, toughness is the currency. You have great technique, great wax on your skis, but if you can't handle the pain cave, as they call it, you don't get on the podium.
The pain cave. I've heard that term used by endurance athletes. It always sounds so ominous.
It is ominous. It's the place you go mentally when your body starts to shut down, when your vision starts to blur, your legs feel like lead, and every instinct says quit.
And she didn't just visit.
Diggins didn't just go into the cave. She set up camp and lived there for 23 minutes.
She bought real estate in the cave.
She took out a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage on the cave.
And the interest rates were high.
Extremely high. The payments were brutal.
So as we look at the results board one last time, Karlsson gold, Anderson silver, Diggins bronze. It looks neat and tidy on Wikipedia, but we know the reality was messy, loud, and painful.
And that's why we do these deep dives. Because the result, bronze medal, is a sanitized version of history. It's the clean version. The reality is the scream.
Yeah.
The reality is the teammate rubbing cramping legs. The reality is the waiting game while holding your breath with bruised ribs. That is the actual event. The medal is just the souvenir you get for surviving it.
The medal is just the souvenir you get for surviving it. That is a powerful way to put it.
It's true. And looking forward, you have to wonder what this takes out of her for the rest of the games or her career. You don't just bounce back from a performance like that overnight.
Not at all.
The inflammation alone, cortisol spike, the body keeps the score.
Oh, absolutely not. She's going to be feeling that 10 kilometers for a long time. But if we learned anything about Jessie Diggins from Pyeongchang to now, it's that you count her out at your own peril.
Never bet against her. She has proven time and time again that her tolerance for discomfort is higher than almost anyone else's.
So we've unpacked the race, the injury, the agonizing wait, and the incredible result. It's a story of a bronze medal that feels heavier in a good way than maybe even some golds.
It's a medal with weight, for sure.
Yeah.
It's a medal with a story.
Before we wrap up, I want to leave you, the listener, with something to think about. We spend so much time celebrating the smile on the podium. We love the national anthem, the waving, the flowers. But after hearing about the guttural scream, the writhing on the snow, and the sheer physical trauma required to get that bronze, it makes you wonder about the cost.
It does. It raises the question, is the true defining trait of an Olympian their athletic skill, their ability to glide perfectly on snow, or is it actually their capacity to endure suffering?
That's interesting.
Because when you look at Jessie Diggins, the skiing was great, but the suffering was world-class. And maybe, in the end, that is what the Olympics are really measuring. How much can you take?
How much can you take? That's the question I'll be asking myself next time I'm on the treadmill. Thanks for diving deep with us today. We'll catch you on the next one.
Okay, one question for you. How did Jessie Diggins push through intense pain and a rib injury to deliver a medal-winning performance in the Olympic 10-kilometer race? And what does her collapse reveal about the true cost of elite competition? Don't forget to comment it. Thanks.